The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed on Leadership Lounge Live are for entertainment and informational purposes only. They do not reflect the official policies, beliefs, or positions of any individuals, organizations, or platforms mentioned. Viewer discretion is advised, and we encourage independent research and critical thinking. Enjoy the conversation and engage responsibly.
Welcome to the Leadership Lounge.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Leadership Lounge Live, episode 64, where I am your host, Lewis Marshall, here at Marshall Artistry. Tonight's conversation is going to be a real special one. We've got a powerhouse guest in the house, Miss Kat O'Brien, a screenwriter, author, professor, and creative coach who's been shaping stories across Hollywood, higher education, and the heart of the classroom for multiple decades. She's the founder of KOB Magic, and she's worked with major studios, taught at places like University of Chicago, DePaul, and Second City. She's even executive produced an award-winning series during the pandemic. As always, I'm also joined by my hosts, Miss Adama and Mr. Uriah, and we're going to dive deep into storytelling today. So everybody, please welcome Kat to the house. What's good, Kat?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to join.
Yo, we're really excited to have you here. Thank you so much. So this last week, we just got done with this AI film contest viewing party where a lot of people were learning how to craft stories and scenes from scratch using image prompts and video prompts. And I'm wondering, when you're working with writers and students who are new to visual storytelling, where do you tell them to start?
Ooh, I love this question. So when I'm working with students and creators, clients who are newer to visual storytelling, the first place I tell them to start is in their own mind and building that awareness for how they visualize, because we don't all visualize the same way. And this might be kind of an interesting place to pause and just check in with you all to see, like, out of curiosity, do you all like see when you're visualizing something that you're creating with, like, if you're making art or you're trying to like write a scene or a prompt, like, do you see it play out in your mind like a movie?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yes, most definitely.
So I assumed very wrongly that this is everyone. It is not. Not everyone just watches a movie in their head. So the first thing that I realized when I had to connect with creators who maybe were new to screenwriting or new to video or new to photography or new to any sort of visual storytelling was to help them understand how they see things in their mind, or if they don't like watch like a mind movie, what goes on in their like mental process and what happens when they're going from that to the page, or to, like, you know, by page I mean, like, you know, anything digital, anything that we're writing, any type of prompt we're entering, any sort of process where we're going from like a thought to the words. And then I find that a lot of people are more comfortable playing directly with the imagery and the tools itself as opposed to going to that word stage. So I like to start, like, even when I teach screenwriting classes, I like to start with having folks like pick up their phone and let that be the lens and start to figure out, like, how am I seeing this? And then figure out, like, what is it I'm seeing? Why is that what I'm seeing? And then how do I transfer that to whatever image or moving image or graphic design or painting or whatever visual thing I want to create? How do I transfer it that way? And so I find that that can be a really helpful place to start, is to just kind of like jump in with, how does the eye see it? What happens with like our eye to our mind to then that expression? But kind of going straight to that tool, because I think that instant visual gratification is really helpful in storytelling, because it's like you go straight from here's what I think, or here's what I see or want to see. And like storyboard artists do this too, right? They sketch their storyboard drawing to here's the image. And once you can see that, I feel like you start to get your momentum, or what I call like your creative ignition, because it's like it just clicks. And then I think you can start to see more easily. So it's kind of like starting with figuring out that process is the short answer.
I love that. That's a great answer.
And you're friends with Uriah?
Uriah is such a dope artist. Oh my
I just had to go
gosh.
back to it. Just-
I love our collabs because, like, I mean, a lot of what we've talked about too in collaborating with each other is, you know, from my lens as a screenwriter, going from like I see the movie in my mind and I can just put it to words immediately. How does that translate though to like a screenplay is a document that's meant to be interpreted by other visual storytellers. So how are they picking up what I'm putting down with those words? And with the different digital tools that Uriah has access to, I feel like we created a shorthand and how we can visually tell stories just based on my background and then the tools that you have, Uriah. I feel like working with you taught me how to look at my words differently because I could see it happening faster. I could see it happening in real time. Better, in my opinion, better than a storyboard, more easily to like three-dimensionally realize than a storyboard. You could just capture a dream or a vision.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. I think all three of you guys I've collabed with to one way or the other. I think Kat I probably collab with the most because I was able to collab with her virtually and actually in person. And Kat has the same kind of very thorough, very detailed oriented personality that I do at the pro level in this creative space. Because I have it in the business space, but she had it in the creative space. And I was like, oh, she can see all of the details that has to go into the creative process versus me. My initial approach to the creative storytelling has always just been a one-man show. And being a photographer, it's kind of easy to do that at first. But once you start getting into video, once you start getting into actually storytelling, you start realizing the importance of having a director or producer and a writer in the room to help guide everything else, and like everything has its place. So when we get together, I can hear her vision, and I'm like, oh, okay, I can make it look like this. I can put this in there, and I could use ChatGPT to help me, boom, put that in there and create the entire process. And when we have like the entire production, then we could show it, and then that'd be just great. And then and all of that's going in my head, and then I show Kat the output, and she's like, "Wait, how'd you do that?" And it was like, I'm just hearing her words, seeing her direction, and I put it in a place from my perspective, because I'm not a great writer. I'm not a great storyteller verbally or written language, narrative. Like I'm more of like the apps guy. Like I could put all the apps together. Oh, this is what you need to see. I could put it there and I could put it there, and I could use this to make this look like that. And then I could also use ChatGPT to talk to each of those apps in their language, so we could get the best of the best in each part, and then boom, spit it out. And I think that's why we have, and most of my prompts come from Lewis. And then me and Adam will go back and forth with the creative design and like how it should look. And then when you put us all together, it puts out something like really great. And sometimes they didn't even know they were part of the process, but that's kind of how it goes.
That's how we work sometimes, though. It's like, hey, everybody relies on their skill set. And because we've built this community of like-minded creatives, it doesn't necessarily matter whether it's, hey, you're doing the prompting, you're doing the music, you're doing the storytelling, you're doing the visuals. We all kind of figure out a way to kind of piece it together. For me, I think that I do a good job of the visual storytelling, but I don't know how to come up with that narrative sometimes. It's difficult for me. I can see what this scene needs to look like, but I don't know how to build it into a more cohesive, larger story. I wonder what makes a story stick for you, Kat.
Oh, I that's a really cool question because I feel like that's a lot of I think that's a lot of us, right? Like we're drawn to visual storytelling or visual design or visual experiences because I don't want to necessarily say like it doesn't have to be like a narrative to be storytelling. It could also just be an experience. It could make you feel a certain way or make you think about something differently. And what I call that is like that's my philosophy of like the magic idea. Like an idea is magical. What makes a story stick is when it has that emotional resonance. It makes you feel something a certain way, it connects to you emotionally, and it has that thematic relevance. It makes you think about something in a new way, differently, or articulates something back to you that you're like, oh, that's what that feeling is, or that's what that means. And when we combine both of those things, when a story has those two things, I think that's when it sticks. But a lot of folks wonder, especially like students that are drawn to film school and cinematic storytelling, or clients of mine, like folks that have written books, and they're like, I think this book could be a movie or a TV show, but I don't know how to get it there. And the place that I like to start is that zoomed out place of like, here's what's going to connect with your audience. That's what's going to create a story that is commercially viable. It's my opinion. It's from my years of experience. It's not like scientific, but it's like when a story has that, that's like the je ne sais quoi, that's like the stickiness, that it's like, yes, we get it. And that's what makes, I think, like classics, instant classics, or the timeless stuff feel timeless and relevant and resonant because we still connect to it in those ways after all these years. But the way to engineer that from like a narrative or writing perspective is to think about what are those components that go into that. And that's how you really build that story. When you start with a narrative and you want to focus on something basic, I always recommend going back to what, many of us have known since we, before we started reading, when we first heard stories and we started to develop our language skills. It's like, I think we tend to tell stories that have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and we might not always start in the same place, but there is a certain way that stories tend to flow across cultures, across generations. Oral storytelling, going back to like ancient times and the ancient traditions, all the way right up to, the current moment, when we talk about the stories that we're starting to put together in diverse media landscapes. But when we focus on like that beginning, that middle, that end, it's like, okay, so I should create something that might have like these components to it, but what goes into that container? I like to approach it, and this might just be my bias, like from my experience in Hollywood, I like to approach it with a character. I feel like having a character experience something, whether it's going to be quote unquote narrative driven or not, like more like experimental even, having that character that we can like connect to or project onto or root for or relate to can drive the whole experience. And then we can use that character as our vessel to develop like a goal or an objective or whatever journey they go through. And with that process, when we start to give them like a struggle or a roadblock or a conflict that they come up against, we see them overcome that and we start to invest emotionally. We want to know, like, will they or won't they get the thing or get to where they're going, or where are they going? I want to know, I need to know. And that connection starts to build that emotional resonance. And when we layer it with, our other visuals, our motifs, our metaphors, we start to give it that layered thematic meaning that I think, again, whether it's a narrative or even just something more experimental, that's where I think we start to build that story's stickiness and really get it to connect to someone, our audience.
I love that. I love that.
I love that. I was watching her. When I tell you, because you guys know I'm energy based, I'm watching her and I'm like, and I love to write, and I'm watching her, I'm like, yes, tell it. That's this is it. It was just, I mean, they're so beautiful. Everything. Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was
I love
awesome.
storytelling. It's my favorite.
When did that start? When did that start for you, Kat?
Well, what I have record of is it started when I first could write. I have my journals from when I was 6 and 7 years old saved, and I started writing stories about characters going through stuff. Back when I was 6 or 7 years old, and I saved all my notebooks, and I just thought it was the thing that I liked to do. But then I got into acting, and I realized I loved making people laugh and cry in the same performance. Because for me, that felt like if I can delight you and entertain you, but then also move you emotionally to like think about something, not necessarily like make them cry because they're sad. My favorite type of crying is like, that's so beautiful, I'm gonna cry, or oh, that was so moving, I gotta cry. That was the thing that I was like, oh, I love doing this. I love making people feel something. And then the nerd in me got excited about like adding layered meaning through all of the different like literary and visual artistic tools that, you know, has been in our human arsenal and lexicon for centuries. So my screenwriting journey started when I was 17, but screenwriting and like filmmaking is it's not even 100 years old yet, talking films.
Yeah.
So it's cool to get to be a part of that, but I would say like my whole life, or at least as long as I can remember, and even from before I can remember, I've been a storyteller.
That's awesome.
A natural.
That's beautiful. How has your approach of creativity and storytelling evolved over the past 5 years? Like, especially in a post-pandemic world, like how has it evolved?
Oh, that's a great question. Post-pandemic, I would say that my creativity has evolved towards finding ways to release attachment to the outcomes. I have been very much a perfectionist. I would consider myself a recovering perfectionist, and there really just isn't room for that in creativity because perfectionism shuts you down.
Mm-hmm.
It can paralyze you. And when you're already paralyzed by other stuff like trauma or grief or heartbreak or just days being long and life being hard, it's like compounded. So you gotta have self-compassion. So I would say the number one way my creativity has evolved with the past 5 years is towards more self-compassion, towards having less attachment to my outcomes, which has led to me being more willing to take creative risks, put myself out there, share, look silly, risk looking maybe like I'm not an expert or like I'm not the best at this thing, and feeling like I don't have to prove anything. In that way, I think that's been like the thing that has liberated me most as a creative and as an artist in the past 5 years, especially. Yes, the pandemic, I think, accelerated that. I think it forced a lot of us to reconcile with that part of ourselves. How about for the rest of you? Do you feel like, does that resonate for you, or
Yes.
does that anything that you relate to in your own creativity?
Yes, that answer was beautiful because what I translate that as is you're more intentional in everything that you're doing. Like, even though you're intentional when you create in general, but it opens up a different level of vulnerability and like and cohesiveness with your work. Like you're actually giving more life, and like someone can just actually feel it. Because I'm one of those people, like if you're telling the story, of course I'm going to receive it, but if I can feel like it's like more intentional and things, everything that you just struck on, it was like lightning bolt. What you just said, it's intentional, like very. I like that. Thank you. I'm like that. Mm-hmm.
I love that.
You, Ryan, what about you?
I mean, most definitely. Like everything Kat said, I feel like we kind of been developing together. She kind of helped me become an artist as well, because I was still saying like, oh, that's not really me. And she was like, no, you're an artist, and you Kat and Adama both share that. Like, well, you share the fact like you like just post it. Like that's dope. Post it. Like you're an artist. Do whatever you want. And I was like looking for validation. Like, is this art or is this not? She was like, no, it is. Post it. Fuck it. You know, like just go with it. And also we talked about this on the last show or last two shows. Adama looked at me and she was like, I just post stuff. She was like, I just post it and don't even care. Like just post it. I'm like, just post it. So all the advice I get from everyone, I push it out as well. So that's why I always tell everybody the advice I give isn't purely from me, it's usually from somebody else. And that part came from Kat, where she was like, no, you're right, you are an artist, because I always downplay my creativity all the time. And she kind of helped me get past that. And I kind of started from like the pandemic through post-pandemic era.
Yeah. I know for me, what I heard when she was talking was authenticity. That during the pandemic, you had to really take a hard look in the mirror because it was just different. The world was just drastically changed at the drop of a dime. So everybody was responding and reacting. And for me, my content and art journey became more authentic and just showing, hey, it doesn't matter that you make mistakes. This is how I learned. Me personally, I learned from going through the process of making the mistake and figuring out how do I redirect or find another way to do it. So for me, my on-screen content became more of an authentic journey, sharing of my journey versus the art side of me that's like, hey, I don't know if I should post that. It just became more authentic for me to share genuinely and talk about not necessarily how to, but how I. And so it helped me during the pandemic to kind of take a look in the mirror and, okay, why am I posting this? What do I want to get out of this? And how do I help somebody else all at the same time with every piece of content that goes out? So that was pre-AI video for me. So now I'm in this new way of storytelling and I'm realizing, hey, I need somebody like what I hear Kat, I need somebody to redirect me now that I have a new tool at my disposal. So I'm curious, with all of the concentration on AI and productivity tools, creativity tools, where do you think the human voice still shines brightest in storytelling?
What a great question. I think that like AI is here. It is inevitably a part of our like societal fabric in every way. Yes, that includes art. And we need to, I think, as artists, find a way to embrace how we can use AI in ways that make sense for us. And Lewis, I love what you said about like, it's not about how to, it's about how I. And I think the shift in that, like the intentionality of your language, what I got out of that was like when we are how toing folks, it can start to feel like a pressure to perform or to deliver or to have a certain amount of credibility because it's like, well, who am I to tell you how to do anything? But when we shift that to how I do it, I think it becomes like an aha moment to other folks who are like, oh, that's how you do it. That's interesting. I do it that way too. Or I want to try that. Or, I would never do that because that doesn't feel right for me. But that gives me another way to think about it in this other way. I think it just kind of like changes that game. And I think it's the same with AI. I feel like the human voice shines around our authenticity, around our messiness, our vulnerability, around the ways that we can adapt and respond to something in the moment. Like what you were talking about, like wanting to collaborate with someone who can like redirect you with the tools. I feel like AI is still in a place where it's very transactional. It's very like, I use it this way. and here's how it benefits me. And that's a great model to keep building on as artists. I think, like, here's how I can use this tool to refine my own technique, to enhance my communication, my expression, my ability to reach an audience, my ability to communicate my thoughts, my feelings, whatever I have to say, my purpose. And when we start to think about how we can take, I guess, like, our human ability to sort of like respond in the moment and have like some spontaneity and not take the predicted outcome, I think that's the thing. I'm struggling to really like articulate it outside of the context of like improv comedy. So please forgive me for this. But I feel like in improv, we screw up the scene when we come in with a plan and we're like, I'm gonna be this guy, you know, like everyone makes fun of The Office when Michael Scott, Steve Carell's character, comes in like FBI agent Michael Scarn, and I was like, oh my god, he's screwing up the whole scene. And that's because he's got this plan. He's not listening. He's not collaborating. He's not like waiting to see what is your partner going to give you as a gift. What are the patterns that we can find? And we know that AI is like all about pattern recognition at like increasingly sophisticated levels. And maybe humans have kind of like pattern recognition in like these very like finite spheres. I think that like, if we continue to think of ourselves comparing like the human artist and AI in that like very limited framework, I think we're toast. But when we start to think outside of that, of like, well, what are all the other things that I can like spontaneously respond to in the scene? I can listen to a collaborator. I can respond to their authenticity in a way that breaks the pattern, in a way that is not a pattern, in a way that is connecting in some other way. I believe that is what maybe even kind of makes us human, is that ability to be spontaneous and authentic and like perpetually adapt. I know that there's self-learning robots, like I watched The Incredibles, so I feel like AI could get there. But I think that's kind of like the thing right now is like, it's like the human unpredictability, the potential for chaos maybe.
The potential for chaos. That's what I like to hear.
I'm just saying, like, oh, she just nailed it right there.
Potential for chaos, like
chaos.
That really sums it all up, right? Because me as a risk specialist, chaos is always in the picture. Like, there's always room for error. Like, especially when you add humans to it, there's always going to be a room for variability, and you always have to plan for that. And I think like when I first started doing photography, and I went to an Adobe Max, their annual convention, and the one guy that I was listening to that I really hit, he said, all these apps have like, you know, Snap to. Is like, don't just snap to, like push it a little bit, so to make it yours, because everybody's snapping twos. So push it a little bit. That makes it yours. Like, you don't have to be on the mark. So I'm thinking like what you just said with AI, everybody's going to be doing AI, and the human part is going to be, oh, I'm going to do it like this. Like, AI said that, but I'm going to tweak it a little bit on my end, like this. So it's going to be like that. Like, whatever everybody else is doing, whatever the trend is, whatever the standard is, always push it a little bit. Always, you know, take it back a little bit. Like, don't be afraid to hit it to the next level.
Yeah. I love that.
For sure. And Uriah is always saying here on the show, push the buttons. We get a new update on something, and hey, go in there and go push every single button, slide every single slider, go outside of your comfort zone or what the normal parameters are, and see what else you can do. And so I love that. I'm curious, and this was a random thought while you were talking. What is something that a new storyteller and an expert storyteller can make as a mistake? What's a mistake that both a new person and an experienced person make within storytelling in your experience?
I would say, I mean, this is totally like through my own lens
Yeah.
of like what are the mistakes I make as an experienced storyteller, and I think about how, like, yeah, I've been doing this for, you know, many years, and some of my students, you know, I've been doing this since before they were born, but we are both vulnerable to fearing our mistakes. Like, you know, even though like I love, there's a part of me like when you're like, yeah, push all the buttons, like slide all the levers. I'm like, yes, I want to do that thing. And then there's another voice that's like, oh, but what if you fuck it up? You know? And I think it's so hard to turn off that voice and be like, you know, like I think that we fear mistakes. Even if we intellectually understand that like mistakes and failure is like the fertile ground of creativity, that innovation does not happen if we do not fail at what we were going to do. Because if what we were going to do was the thing we were going to do, like if we got there, like we wouldn't be innovating. We'd be there. We'd be where we thought we were going to be. We'd be in the expected place as opposed to the unexpected that we discover, right? Discovery has to happen from failing to get there. And I think that experienced folks and newbies alike, I think we're just vulnerable to that. We're vulnerable to that inner critic. Even when we train ourselves not to be, like I meditate about that all the time. Every day I'm trying to kill my inner critic. And she keeps coming back.
Say that again. Say that again.
Every day. Yeah. Trying to kill that inner critic. And it's like, you know, Night of the Living Dead.
So how do you silence it, or do you use it?
That was hilarious. Dead.
I think so. I think on one hand, you know, like as a more analytical person, because I've done story analysis work for many years as studio executive and analyst for production companies and studios on the freelance side, deciding if they should make a book into a TV show or should they make this script into a movie or a TV show. And analyzing the hell out of stuff for years, I think makes you very sharp in that way. And you can like analyze the hell out of your own work. You can, you know, perfect it to the point of killing it. And you can forget that something's just good enough to just put out there. So the way I kill the inner critic who's like, this can always be better, is I just tell her to get in the back seat and like, yes, I hear you. It could always be better. And mama's tired. So it's time to share this. Like, I just need, because if I just keep perfecting the one thing, right? You just got to get it out there. You just got to share. You got to be done. You got to be done and then move on to the next thing.
You become a creativity hoarder. You become a creativity hoarder. And I just want to say, hi, my name is Adama, and I'm a hoarder of my creativity and storytelling. And today's day one. I hope to receive some type of...
Hi, Adama. I'm Lewis, and I'm a hoarder of my creativity too.
Look, I can barely wave because the creativity wants to jump out of my body. Hi. Hi.
Right? I love that term.
It feels like you're just pack riding like your stuff. Like, and I'm like, and then they're like, hey, can you give me that footage from? And I'm like, hold on, can you give me 30 minutes?
Wait, I gotta edit it. Hang on.
Right. Sometimes you just gotta do it.
Right. And then when I release it, I'm like, go be with them.
Yep. I hope they do something great and amazing with this.
Go be with them. And I just want you to tell this one story, how you didn't flinch when you saw fear. That's all I want you to do. That's how I feel. That's how I feel with creativity. So I get what you're saying. Yeah. I'm like, oh, I must be related to her inner person.
Right?
It's
I mean, I think they're all related. They're like a cult.
Yeah.
Experienced and newbie storytellers alike, artists alike. It's a cult of inner critics that are coming for all of us. And we just got to keep working together to be the resistance.
Boom, right
It's
there.
the imposter syndrome, right?
Oh, I
it's
love
the
it.
imposter syndrome all around.
Yeah.
I think that's everybody, though, especially in this day of content that we're in, where it's like, hey, just post a lot of everything. But then some people, it's hard for them to do that. It's hard to hit the actual post button. They'll get all the way through. They'll get the caption. They'll get the perfect hashtags. And then they'll click play one more time. and then they'll discard it. And then it sits in their phone for
Yeah.
months and months and months until you're scrolling looking for something else and you, oh, I don't think I ever even posted this. All right, today's the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fear.
And it's frustrating when you've already posted some stuff, and I like organization. So I'm like, oh, I just posted this awesome fashion thing, and then here comes the panda bear meditating. What? And I want to be like, I promise I'm not crazy, but if y'all think I am, just rock out with it, because I meant to post this. I meant to post this 2 weeks ago. It's just been sitting in the batch.
That's that
So-
authenticity. Sorry, Kat, go ahead.
Oh no, I was saying you're touching on two key things that I think are really maybe helpful to share. One is using Chat GPT as not a validator, because I try not to believe in external validation, but if writers and artists are wondering, should I post this? Should I do this? I think that you can use Chat GPT to get like a good kind of like therapist bestie analysis. I'm like, yeah, you should, and here's why it's good. Like, tell me why I should do this, Chat. We're on a first name basis. And I feel like when you do that, you start to build your confidence in trusting your own instincts, because you're not going to get your confidence from posting when you have, especially when you're starting out and you only have, a few hundred followers and you're only getting a couple likes per thing,
Girl, you're on it.
You ain't lying.
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah.
You ain't lying.
Her and I were speaking. She already put me to another level of the English language, because she's speaking a whole nother level right now where I'm understanding. I'm like, where have you been my whole life?
Right.
Me and Uriah's friend in Chicago.
Uriah, you
In
can't,
Chicago.
you
What
can't
world
hoard
does that
the
make
Chicago
sense?
friend. You got to share
I'm
the
hoarding
Chicago
the
friends.
talent. I'm
What
hoarding
world?
the talent.
Does this make sense that everybody he brings on from Chicago, I'm like, hey, where you been my whole life?
Right? Facts. No, this is
Chicago's
really
the best
good.
city in the world. Chicago.
There we go. There we go. See? Here we go. He was waiting all episode to hear you say that, Kat.
Yeah,
He
I'm
was
I was
waiting.
ready to set it up.
I mean,
pre-show.
I didn't force it. I didn't prompt her to say it. I mean,
Nope.
it just
Scotty,
comes
y'all
out.
hard.
It just comes out. Chicago is just that city. I mean,
Oh Lord.
I don't know what to say. I don't know
Well,
what else
because
to
we're an
say.
authentic city. We're the
So-
heart. We're the heart of the country, and we're the heart of authenticity, and we say it like it is. And I think it's a
I
great
like
place for artists to like find that confidence in trusting themselves. Like that's what Chicago's improv comedy scene is all about. It's all about how do you trust yourself to just do the thing, so that you can trust your scene partner. Because when you trust yourself and you trust your scene partner, you go on stage, you have no idea what you're going to say, but you just trust that y'all got each other's backs.
Mm-hmm. Live streaming is like that sometimes. I'll
Yes,
say,
it is.
where we talk enough offline that I can kind of pick up, okay, Adam is going to end her thought right now. Okay, Uriah's going to know to pick up on what I just said without me having to, okay, what do you think? That improv, I totally can relate to that. I can totally relate to that.
Yeah, that's what this is. We're just an ensemble.
I have a question.
Adama, do you feel the same way?
I really, really do. But I really do. But I'm about to be real hyper right now because I got something.
Yeah, go.
brewing at me. So
There we
with
go.
you, with everything that you have, like with all the talents that you have, with your screenwriting, your teaching, your consultant, your writing, and let's just like you're super dope at all of this. How like we can tell, like we can recognize someone. We're at the point with AI, with chat now, or whatever we use. We can recognize when someone's given a authentic idea and it's coming from them, versus oh no, they just put dog and then a dog appeared. They just put dog and then there's old yellow. that came with chat. And look, there's no shadowing, and there's no what kind of style and camera did they use in lighting, and why isn't there any depth?
Mhm.
So my question is to you, like, have you been putting that kind of where you can tell, like, yo, that's what kind of idea was that? Like, what were you what? Who thought that for you? Like, can you like, since chat's been around, can you tell versus what's an authentic idea versus, oh, they just put hot dog.
in chat and it's just been like
Yeah.
output.
Yeah.
I feel like I am trying to tune into that because I feel like on so many levels with AI being so pervasive throughout media, I feel like I'm a little hypersensitive to, like, I want to know, is this tweet real or fake? Is this image real or fake?
Mhm.
How do I know? And then also, like, to another level, just kind of like the terminology of like real or fake is kind of interesting, because when we're talking about like AI creation, if I'm putting in a prompt to chat GPT and it's kind of basic, and it just kind of gets output in that way, I feel like my artistic sense kind of gets triggered and I'm like, oh, I don't like that. And that's like what you were saying, Uriah, about like pushing the buttons or being like, oh no, I'm going to tweak this, I'm going to go further, I'm going to change it, I'm going to take it and make it my own. I feel like you can tell that with different artists. I feel like there's I feel like there's an I mean, and now I kind of want to just be tested on it because I want to know if I'm right or not.
Right.
But I feel like there's a sense. I mean, I think you all have a knowledge and awareness of the different AI tools and skills that I think trains your eye even more perceptibly to those like nuances. And I'm wondering, can you tell?
I can.
Yeah.
I write a lot of
Definitely.
spoken word. And so a lot of the things that I write is like literally me. And I might spell check it. But then when I see someone else do it, I'm like, oh, now you better cut it out. Just go ahead and upgrade. Stop that. That makes no sense. What? That's what I'm saying. But I'm like, you know what? You get a C for effort. I appreciate you trying. And I know that sounds really bougie, y'all, on my part. I know that does, but you can just tell when you're writing, because I'm like I said, I like spoken word. I love creativity, and I'm also, I just love that. And so, but you can just tell, because I put one up before that I did from chat, and it didn't. Nobody liked it, y'all. Nobody liked it because it used words that made no sense. It was just a test. I just wanted to test it. But yeah.
You right. What about you? Can you tell?
Most definitely. I've been following the AI trend since it came out. So I've been there in the beginning. So I know when it's a newer AI model versus an older AI model. I know if it's a newer prompt versus a more in-depth prompt, because it's like I can almost just foresee who's doing it and which app they're using. Because like if you're a professional, it's not even gonna be a question. It's gonna look professional. But as a newbie, it's gonna look like a template. You know, it's like, okay, I've seen that template before. I've already seen it, so I know that's what it is. And it comes the same way with the prompts. Like I put that prompt in, and that's exactly what I got, and I changed it. You didn't change it, and you don't even know the flaws that's coming in with it. So yeah, I can see I can see it. Like I know the telltales, and also coming from an auditor background where AI is not good, but it's also creating a lot of strain on the fraud community, the anti-fraud community. So it's like all the stuff that I see as a template is also the red flag that I look for when we're doing like fraud investigations. Like it's the exact same thing you have to look for. So I'm looking at it from two perspectives, like, oh, you're just a rookie doing it. But then it's also with this hat, oh, this is a clear red flag for a potential fraudulent perspective. And if you think about it from what we're saying, the basics, the newbies that's trying to pretend like they're professionals, those are, fraudulent characters as well. And that's the way I look at it. That's not the way
Yeah.
we said it, but that's the way I kind of look at it.
I can say I can tell when it comes to images for the most part, but I'm about a half step behind with AI video just because the tools are just getting better. There's less. You have less of the 6 and 7 fingers and 18 toes, and you're seeing less of that. And as you're seeing less of that, and the movement in hair texture, clothes, the halo that's right next to the body, if you see that halo, then you know it's AI. But if you don't, it could be a AI, it could not be. It's getting really difficult to tell, especially for those who aren't around the industry or haven't really been looking at it like we have. Yeah, it's really hard for them to tell. My mom, I talk with her about it all the time, and she's like, yeah, it's really hard to tell, and they can clone your voice. I don't want to answer the phone anymore, and it's a really complex time, but I think that's really important why groups of people like us have these kind of conversations where we can bring awareness to those kind of things. And especially from a writing perspective nowadays, the kids are going to need to have access to ChatGPT. If I'm being honest, it helps them to have a one-on-one tutor when sometimes kids are in a class that they don't get that one-on-one time. So having a chat to talk with about how do I get better? How do I perfect my writing? How do I turn this into a larger project? I think is going to be the norm here in the next 5 years. Probably quicker than that, honestly, but definitely in the next 5 years, I'd see that to be a normal tool for everybody in society. They'll be writing emails and captions and screenplays. It's unlimited, and it's hard to tell what direction we're going to go because most are just using it for its intended use case and don't go beyond that. Hey, can I connect this system to this system? Can I then get a better output and create a new process? That's not happening for the majority of the AI users. So the small group of us that do push those buttons, yeah, it's important that we have these conversations. And I'm keeping an eye on time because I know that we got to wrap up here in about 10 minutes. Kat, I want to say thank you, first of all, for being so transparent, giving context. I know for me, I don't come from a writing background, and that's like my Achilles heel for my creative side. So this has really been helpful for me. And so I want to just say thank you for your time and just being so free and willing to share the information with us. I know that I talked to you. Sorry. I know I talked to you, Ryan. He said your schedule is like pretty crazy, but I'm wondering, would you ever want to come back and have an extended conversation? This is something that I ask every single guest that we have on the show.
Yeah, this was so fun. Thank you. I would love to. There's so much more we could talk about. I'm like,
oh my God. Yes, I was just thinking.
I was 10 more minutes.
I was thinking, oh my gosh, she's so awesome. She's so dope. We could just talk more. I need more. I'm like,
I feel the same way about you all. I mean, I think we're just like at the tip of the iceberg on this like authenticity conversation because we're using words like fake and fraudulent and authentic, and we're like really closing in on something very interesting. And I guess I could add one button to what you were saying about ChatGPT and writing and like spotting stuff. I tested ChatGPT for my students I asked Chat to like just the basic version to outline for me something very specific that I was asking my students to do, an assignment. And I wanted ChatGPT to give me like a TV writer's room style outline of the pilot episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine as it aired on television. And it didn't get it right. It made some mistakes. And so I used that as a teaching tool in my classroom to show my students just around like how to spot the missteps, and like you could use it as a tool because it saves a lot of time to like write out a lot of things, and you still got to watch it, you still got to study and then figure out like, oh, so chat thought this was happening in the TV show, but really this was happening in the TV show. And I know that because I'm human. I'm not just like trying to get all this other info.
That was it right there, Kat. Oh, sorry, y'all. I didn't mean to go over there. That was it. That was it, though. That was it, y'all.
Yeah,
that was it right there.
And you're the best teacher for this time too, because
yes,
you have to use AI for the tool that it is, right? Because I thought you was about to go a different way. I thought you were going to use it to be like, oh, is this the format that they're going to give me? Like you gave the assignment and they just put it in ChatGPT and that's what they give you. But you're pretty much telling like, okay, this is what they give you, and look, it messed this and up. Like, and that's how I think we have to teach everyone, but especially the students, but teach everyone like, look, it can do a lot, but unless you're a professional and you know that craft, you miss the other 20% that means everything. Like, yeah, got the most of it down, but it messed this up, and if you don't get that, now you're a fake, now you're a fraud, or you're a failure at that point, right? Because if you did it as an assignment, you're a failure. If you did it as for a client, you're a fraud, or a fake.
Yeah.
Or if you did it,
you a scammer in the street. You a scammer in the street.
What I got from that was, here, geek mode, you guys know. I mean, it's just like two cells just coming together, the human and the AI working together, not the AI working just for you, because it's not going to give you what we already are learned, like what we know. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, if you know your craft, if you know your gift, then you're going to be able to spot when something's wrong. Like you said, Brooklyn Nine, you knew, you already knew. So it's just like, it just has to come together. Like what do you call it? Like the positive and negative.
Magnetic energy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you have to work with, that's how you have to work with it. Not just be, specialty lazy. I was trying to find the appropriate word.
Well, I know we're down to the last few minutes of this episode. Kat, if you have anything that you have going on, this is a good opportunity to talk about it, tell people where they can find you.
Thank you. Sure. I would love anyone. Please follow me on Instagram at Kat O'Brien Writer. I'm on Facebook at Catherine O'Brien Russin. I'm on LinkedIn, and I have a Substack at Kat O'Brien Writer. There's my link tree. Thank you so much. My Substack is called Revision Mode, Rewrites, Reinvention, and Creative Revolution. And it's all about figuring out this process of creativity and how we are perpetually reinventing ourselves as artists and storytellers and entrepreneurs. And so if that speaks to you, I encourage you to subscribe. I have free subscriptions and premiums. And I put a lot of that content in the free mode because I just want to share what I have with others. And anyone who is watching this and curious about coming to Iowa City, I will be there June 21st and 22nd. I still have openings in my weekend workshop about how to pitch movies and TV shows. So anyone who's like flirting with these tools and is like, how do I turn this into something like a movie or a TV show? Please come join this workshop. And that's all on my link tree as well. Thank you, everyone. Louis, Uriah, Adama, I really appreciated being on your show. And this was really creatively soul nourishing. I feel so energized and also peaceful.
Beautiful. You're so beautiful. I can't stand you. You're so beautiful. And I've already, you made me come out the closet and let me know that I am a creativity hoarder.
Yeah.
I appreciate you for this. I appreciate it.
The thing I wrote down over here that I've got circled is releasing attachment to outcomes. That's the big takeaway for me. I mirror everything that Adama just said. I really appreciate you being here. Yeah, thank you to Uriah for sharing his more of his plans with us.
Okay. I guess I like Uriah today. I like Uriah. I can stand him today. Chi-Town has come through big time. Kim, Kat, I mean, Shayna, yeah, I can't take it no more.
Right? No, Adam, I
There's a
tell the
lot of
people what.
talent across.
Go ahead, you right?
Yeah, you're right.
No, I was just saying there's just a lot of talent across the field and in Chicago. It didn't have to. Nothing I've ever said before. It wasn't.
I know. Every
Well,
week it seems like.
Is that
Every
him trying to
week
be
it seems
modest?
like.
Was that
He is
modest?
being modest. He got a friend here in the house. He got a friend here in the house.
Yeah,
Nah,
it almost
Adam,
sounds like his throat was dry. I was like, no, that's not modesty.
I'm gonna go ahead and tell the people where they can find you at.
You can find me on all social platforms. You can also find me on that right there, my link tree. Awesome. Thank you, awesome producer. And you can DM me if you need me. And yeah, that's where you can find me at. I'm gonna get better at this one day, y'all.
It's all good. Get the reps in. You Ryan, what you got? Where can the people find you?
You can find me at Uriah Muhammad on Facebook and LinkedIn, or right here on the Link app. You could go there and you can find all of my links to all of my socials, some of my past work, description of what I do, and even a sign up link. And that's what I got.
Sauce. I am your host. My name is Lewis Marshall. You can find me here on Facebook at Lewis Marshall, and on every other platform you can find me at Marshall Artistry. If you enjoyed this show and you'd like to see more clips from a show like this from past episodes, definitely give our YouTube channel, our Leadership Lounge Network, a subscribe so that you don't miss out on any future updates. Other than that, this has been a really, really fun episode. I can say I've been live 3 times in the last 4 days. So your boy is beat. I know next week we are going to take a week off. So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks with another exciting episode of Leadership Lounge Live. I just want to say thank you to Kat again, and we will see you guys in a couple of weeks. Thank you so much for being here. I love y'all, and we will see you soon. Holla.